I haven't trained in 3 months, so I'm very excited to be here. You know, I had a bunch of friends who've come here and they just give it to me straight, and they were just shocked. So I'm like, that's it, I'm coming.
Welcome to the Cellular Performance Institute podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ed Clay, here with Scott Nelson.
Hey.
And Mo Jassim.
Yes, how are you guys?
Is that right?
What's
Thank you
up,
for having
buddy?
me.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
I've got a big event coming up in September. It's going to be the biggest grappling event of all time. So over 10,000 attendance. So getting ready for that one.
That's a big one. Now, when did you start doing the Abu Dhabi?
So ADCC, the first one I ever went to was the one in 2000, but I joined the team in 2007 officially. So I was the wristband boy back then. So I just slowly started, rising in the ranks. And then in 2017, that was the first time I started organizing events. So
okay, 27.
Yeah. And then I did the World Championship in 2019 in Anaheim. That was a big success. We broke the record, I think probably for grappling, to be honest. We had over 4,000 people there. And then this one is just, it's become like a monster, over 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 people. That's a lot at a grappling tournament. Didn't it sell out really quick too?
Yeah. Just to give you some context, we sold 4,000 tickets for 2019. We sold 5,000 tickets for this one in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, a year out. So on Black Friday, so 10 months out. And then we sold over 7,000 in the first day alone. So every premium seat was gone on the first day. Our most expensive tickets, the purple ones, sold out in 4 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that.
That's incredible. And now I see like you have people trying to scalp them for, what was the price? Like 10,000, 12,000 bucks?
Yeah. I actually contacted StubHub a couple of days ago, and people are sending me like, they have scalpers have these tickets for over $10,000 a ticket. So I called StubHub. I'm like, hey, you got to get rid of all these. So it's, doing something right.
Yeah, doing something right. Like, I guess when we started grappling 20-something years, 25, 26 years ago, there wasn't, there wasn't much interest in it. And you might get, 50 people, spectators to show up.
Yeah, right.
Is that at your
I
tournaments?
still remember, because I started training in 2003. And I remember back then, like Grappler's Quest was like the biggest tournament. And that was like $500 prize money, which cost you spent more money going to the tournament and staying. But the sport has skyrocketed. I always tell the new generation, I'm like, you guys have no idea how good you got it. Because we remember what it was like.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day. Now, you train jiu-jitsu as well. Well, we were talking a little bit before, but where did you start training originally?
So my first school, my first instructor was Hicks and Gracie's Academy in LA. So I started there in 2003. And then I was there for about a year and a half. And then I went back to Orange County and I started training under Kleber Luciano. So I got my blue belt under him. And then I moved to Abu Dhabi for 12 years. So I was just training randomly there. So I don't get to train consistently anymore, but so I do like camps where I'll have people fly out to train, or I just go to random schools wherever I am, but I don't train consistently anymore.
Well, what brought you to go out to Abu Dhabi for 12 years? Like, what was the catalyst?
Well, no, I have family, I have family that still live there. My mom still lives there, and my sister as well. So I've been going back and forth forever. The way I got into ADCC actually was in 2000. I flew to Abu Dhabi to visit my brother. He was there at the time. And just by chance, ADCC 2000 was going on. So I went to the event live, and then I became a fanatic.
Yeah.
I've been hooked on the sport ever since.
Watching the development of Abu Dhabi since 2000, your first event.
Yeah.
What's really that been like? And what differences do you see maybe in the in the competitors? Obviously, the fans, there's more fans, but like, do you see any differences?
Yeah, you can see the talent level. Now, you get guys like Colabate, 16 years old. This kid's winning trials. Mika Galvao from Brazil. This kid's a freak. The Rotolos as well. So I can definitely see, the new generation. They're just a bunch of killers. So it's very exciting to see the progression of the sport in all aspects. And I think jiu-jitsu athletes are starting to train like professionals. Like they do camps, they have nutritionists, and the whole shebang. So
Yeah, it's a little different than back in the day.
Back then, it was like, how lazy can you be and still tap everybody out?
what's the least amount of effort I can do to take you out?
Skip the whole warm up, still tap everybody out.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like when I did the Worlds in 2019, jiu-jitsu is just a passion project for me. I was like, I'm not doing this for money. I just want to push this thing as hard as I can. That's always been my goal. For example, in 2019, when we did the West Coast trials in Burbank, we had 350 competitors, which is pretty good. But this last West Coast trials, we had 1,000. So to go from 350 to 1,000 event over event is, it's crazy. World Championship going from 4,000 to close to 12,000. You're talking about 300% growth event over event. So it's very exciting time. I mean, we got big sponsors coming in. One Championship sponsored us. I believe we're the only entity that's ever been sponsored by Joe Rogan as well. So awesome. That was a cool one. A couple Forbes articles. So now the pressure's on and I got to deliver because I've been talking a big game. So, we're all excited.
I think you're going to deliver. I mean,
yeah,
selling out that fast, and that says a lot.
No, for sure. I think after 2019, people started to trust us, and for them to buy tickets blindly like that, it's pretty crazy. So, we're going to deliver and we're going to do it right. And if we keep doing this, the sport can definitely go mainstream. That's always been my goal from day one, is to spread the sport as much as possible. And not to rain on anybody, but I believe there's a lot of bad actors in the sport. Selfish, greedy. When I started organizing events, I saw that side that I'd never seen before. I deal with everyone, the athletes, the organizers, and the vast majority of organizers. The way they do is, I want to do the event as cheap as possible and maximize profits. And I think that's the wrong approach. If you put on a good event, people will trust you and they'll come to your events.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing being promoting jiu-jitsu tournaments. I mean, Scotty and I have done a ton of tournaments over the years. And, so I can definitely connect with what you're, what you're saying. I mean, there was one tournament, I won't mention the person, but it was probably 20 years ago or so, 2002, 2003. And actually, no, God, it was before that. It was Submission Fighter Magazine. It's like 2000.
Oh, wow.
And we had given free advertising in the magazine in exchange for sponsoring the tournament and setting up a booth. And that's how, back then you go set a booth. And I would drive around in my car to different tournaments around everywhere. I would drive up to 15 hours. No big deal.
Yeah.
Set up. And, if I did like $1,500, like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
And, but so we set up it. I went out to this tournament, and about an hour out, the promoter called me and said his partner had made a deal with another gi company, and we couldn't set up any of our stuff. And of course, we had different companies through Submission Fighter Magazine that we would set up at the booth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait a second. We've been promoting this for like 3 months in the magazine. No, not going to do it. Completely changed. Like after the last day, an hour out. And it's dirty.
That's the problem in the sport, to be honest. I just feel overall from the top down, everyone's just so short-sighted. I mentioned myself because like in 2007, my only responsibility was just giving wristbands to the athletes. That's it. So it took me, 15 years to get here. I kept it clean. I didn't do anything scummy, and I learned a lot. And I think there's a lot of benefit in being patient and just doing it the right way. Now I feel like not just in grappling, the whole world, everyone wants instant results, instant gratification, and what you put in is what you get out. Is what I believe.
That's a good point. That's I think that's what's going to take. What do you think really? Overall, you said it had a vision of making grappling mainstream. What is it going to take to actually? What does mainstream really mean, and what's it going to take to get the sport to that point?
I definitely believe this event is going to help catapult it. There's going to be major industry players coming to this event. I've been told, like Scott Coker, Chaudhry from One Championship has told me he's going to try to make it out. Dana White, I've heard. So my thing is, I want to wow them, not just them, just the whole industry. And going mainstream, we're getting real sponsors now. It's not just, my goal is not to get jiu-jitsu sponsors. I want to go bigger than that. We're working on a deal right now. Still working on, I'll know this week, with a massive energy drink company that's, their market cap's over $10 billion. So
nice.
That's my point. Getting real sponsors, getting the athletes paid. It's a lot of moving parts, but I really do believe we can do it. You just got to do it right. And we have to just deliver and show what we're capable of. And one thing I've always, the mistake I feel organizers have always made is they focus on grappling fans, which is, the right thing to do. But I always bring up this analogy. I go, what percentage of UFC viewers actually train a combat sport? I'd say less than 1%. So my thing is, if I can get someone that's never even followed the sport and entertain them, I'm doing the right thing. And that was the best feedback I had in 2019. I had this middle-aged lady come up to me and she's like, listen, my son made me come. I don't know anything about grappling, but I had a great time. So
that's awesome.
If I can get the average person entertained, that's why I go heavy on production. That's what everyone does. So a lot of people criticize me on that, but I want to go for the mainstream audience, because if you just go for grappling fans, you're going to hit a ceiling very quickly. So I want to get everybody.
Well, and you said 2017 was 4,000 people?
2019.
So they criticize you, but in 2022, you have 10,000 plus.
It's funny. I'm still getting criticized now. I saw I'm not going to mention who, a very big name in jiu-jitsu, wrote an article last month criticizing me. And I'm like, listen, I'm known as a hothead. So like, someone says something, I'm going to go right after them. And I did. And I go, listen, me and you can debate back and forth, but the numbers don't lie.
It's true.
We sold $1 million in tickets in one day.
Yep.
The Thomas and Mack ticketing guy said no event they've ever had has ever sold like that. We crashed the website. So I was like, listen, you can have your opinion. I think it's disingenuous. He was saying the growth in the sport is not because of ADCC. It's even across the board. And, I just watched the IBJJF World Championship, which I enjoy watching, but they had 200-300 people in the audience. So,
well, and why can't they be both? It's both is pushing this positive thing, and instead of being like, oh, we're against you or whatever, everybody wins in that scenario, right?
I agree 100%. I've said that publicly. A lot of people think I hate the IBJJF. I don't. Do I agree with everything they do? Of course not. But a rising tide raises all ships.
That's right.
Is what I believe. So I think if IBJJF does well, we do well, and everyone does well, that's good for the sport. And that goes back to the mentality in the sport. It's very, I don't know. It's just a weak mentality they have. Everything is us versus them. I don't look that way.
It reminds me of like, being in scarcity. It's like abundance or scarcity. Do you think that everybody, like everything's a super competition where I've got to win and you've got to lose, or is there enough for everyone?
Yeah,
and
I agree with you 100%. The market's big enough. I just look at it as all jiu-jitsu. I watch gi tournaments all the time. I watch no gi as well. So it's just funny to me. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, we're still a very niche sport. So let's stop killing each other and let's work together and push this thing. So that's just the way I look at it. I wish I watch all jiu-jitsu events, and I hope they all do well. It's good for everybody. The athletes get paid with more shows. So it's just a very weak mentality. I've always just tried to think outside the box and just do things that other people haven't done. Like I said, it's a passion project for me. So I don't want to just keep doing the same thing. And I did an interview like a few years ago, and I said, if I ever hit a point where I think I can't push it anymore, I'm going to retire on the spot. So, I want to push it as hard as I can.
Well, one of the things I enjoyed like following your feed, because you do go after people. It's hilarious. It's hilarious sometimes. And, what is that about? Like, so, it's what's like the point where you're like, I'm not going to take this shit.
Well, if someone says something, first of all, if you attack me, just have your facts right. When people lie or they try to, I do it for a few reasons, to be honest. First, it starts a discussion. You know, when I go after someone, you know, they say their piece, I'll say my piece. That's number one. And number two, I just like to point it out. Like, this is the crap I'm talking about. You know, I love the athletes, but shit, man, like, it's like daycare sometimes with them. And I always tell them, like, you guys are killers on the mat, but you guys couldn't open a bank account if you like, you know, just like basic skills. So like, even now, even this ADCC, I'm like attacking the athletes on my Instagram because I'll say, hey, I have a group chat with all of them. I need your t-shirt sizes. And then 80 of them will read it and I'll get a response from 20 of them. And I'm like chasing down 70 of them. And I'm like starting to get irritated. I'm like, listen, I'm not here to hold your hand. So like now I've said, if you don't give me your coach's name, you're not going to get a coaching pass. You're going to have to get someone from the audience. So, you know, it's stuff like that. And when you want to push the sport from amateur to professional, it puts pressure on everybody, even the athletes. And what I mean by that, when we were growing up, it didn't matter if you won by submission or by an advantage. All that mattered was that you won. And those days are over. You know, if you're boring and you're eking out wins, no one wants to watch that. So it puts pressure on the athletes as well. Like, you need to be exciting. And, you know, example, we're going to have media obligations at the event. I'm sure some of them will complain, but I'll explain to them, this is part of it. All professional sport athletes do media. That's half the game is doing that media obligation. So there's going to be a lot of growing pains. And as long as I can keep my sanity, I'll just keep doing it. I always tell Scotty,
raising kids.
I always tell Scotty, the best thing you ever did was get out. I'm committed to this thing, so I got to ride it out.
Well, yeah, Scott, you got it was probably, you were kind of over that part around 2014 or so.
Yeah, probably about 2014, 2015. I mean, I was pretty over tournaments before that. You know, but everything that you're saying, man, we went through so much worse. So sponsors pull out last minute, you know, people pull out.
Yeah, I mean, it still happens. That happened to an event recently. I know an event. I won't say who. Listen to this. This one pissed me off. It had nothing to do with me. There was an event a couple months ago. They had an event. They had all these sponsors lined up, and another organizer called those sponsors and put pressure on them to pull out, and they pulled out 5 days before the event. Like, I don't care how much I hate somebody. I would never in a million years call a sponsor to pull out of an event.
Right.
So that's the kind of crap that goes on the sport. I was looking for a piece of evidence to prove it, but I didn't have, otherwise I would have melted this guy to pieces.
Well, we used to have people like call the schools, you know?
Yeah, and try to shut you down, right?
You know, when we were doing the American run tournaments, there were other nationalities who, you know, didn't want us being supported in doing events, you know, so they would start calling schools and telling them to boycott our events.
But that to me just shows weakness. You know, I see big events that come, like, you know, won championships, entered the space, and I think competition's a good thing. It keeps everyone on their toes, and you know, I put a ton of work into this thing, and when a big player comes in, so what? You know, just step your game up. It's a big enough market for everybody, and I see that a lot in the sport. People don't like that. You know.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't like competition.
Well, it's funny because at that scarcity, like, there's two things I've noticed, especially since I stepped away, and I remember that Seth invited me to a fight to win, and I hadn't been to an event in like years. So
yeah,
and he was really nice, gave me a nice this giant VIP table for me, you know, and I was like, and he's like, hey, can some other people sit at the table? I'm like, yeah, of course. And just hearing the conversation from the athletes and like just coming from victim, you know, like they were just like, everything was happening to them. They had no control. The ref did this to me. This happened, you know, and I you know, I'm not sure where that started exactly in the sport, but it's been something. I remember I went to the 10-year anniversary of the Worlds, and I was like, man, not much has changed in 10 years. You know what I mean? Going from like, I remember going in 99 And then, whatever year the 10-year anniversary was, and I'm almost like,
no, I totally get it. I mean, one thing we're doing this ADCC is the inaugural Hall of Fame ceremony. And the reason, I mean, first of all, the Hall of Famers to me are the ones that I grew up watching. Mm-hmm. So like, no offense, but the 2022 athletes, I like them, I respect them. But for me, when I see Marcelo Garcia, Roger Gracie, Arona, these are the ones I look up to. And there's something that happens in grappling, which I hate. Any other sport, if you look at Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan, whatever sport, any dominant, people respect them a lot still. In combat sports, especially jiu-jitsu, you don't see that. I'd say probably well over 50% of the current jiu-jitsu fans don't even know who Marcelo Garcia is.
What?
No, that's serious. They don't.
That's wild.
I guess he older than Martin, like, you know what I mean?
I've been around a long time, and to this day, I have never, with Gordon Ryan still included, have ever seen someone command a crowd like Marcelo Garcia. And we just did the stats. He has the highest submission rate in ADCC history, 89%.
Wow.
And he did the absolute 3 times. So he was subbing
Rico Rodriguez, right?
And Holz Gracie.
Yeah.
Holz Gracie was like 250, so he's, so that's why I decided to do the Hall of Fame I call it history class. So
that's awesome.
But I totally agree with you. The new generation, they do complain quite a bit, not all of them, but I agree. That's something I didn't see as much as before, a lot more. And, back 20 years ago, if you want to watch ADCC, you'd wait 6 months to get the DVD set.
Mm-hmm. So DVD, VHS, buddy. We're the VHS era.
Yeah, exactly. Even worse.
You got a copy of a copy of a copy.
So yeah, they just don't realize how good they got it. So I have a lot of respect for the Hall of Famers. I think it's very important to see the history, whether it's boxing or wrestling or
absolutely
UFC. You see it all the time. Like, GSP was so dominant. Now people are like, oh, he wasn't that good. They say the same with like Fedor. 2 years from now, they'll say the same stuff about Anderson Silva. But it's like, if you weren't alive to watch that, you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah, they were great. Marcelo Garcia, I mean, what an animal.
That guy was just
changed the whole
killer.
Game. Yeah, just changed the whole game.
He really elevated the sport. Marcelo, I would say probably more than anybody. He was just so exciting. This guy with a nice smile on his face and just would kill everybody. Would take them out like nothing. So I'm very excited to have these Hall of Famers come. They're all coming to the event, and I don't know how I pulled this off. I'd say the craziest thing I pulled, it's not even the event. It's getting 14 of these Hall of Famers to teach one seminar.
Oh
wow.
I don't know how it happened. I didn't expect that. I thought, we have one seminar with Roger Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Hoyler Gracie, Kira Gracie, Braulio Stima, Barrett Yoshida, Dean Lister, Rafa Mendez, Marcelo Cabrinha, Salo. So like 14 of these, Mark Kerr as well, 14 of them are going to teach one seminar.
Wow.
So very happy about that.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of talent. I couldn't remember that much jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think it was like something like 60 titles or something amongst all of them. So
awesome. When's that going to be?
That's going to be the day before.
The day before.
So Friday.
At the Thomas and Mack?
At the Thomas and Mack.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So looking forward to that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dean Lister's another one that was, really a beast. What year did he?
So he did he pulled off the Triple Crown. I call it the Triple Crown, where he won his division. I think that was 2013. He won the Absolute. That's in 2003. And he won a super fight. So he did all 3.
Wow.
And Dean Lister, from what I remember, has the second highest submission rate in ADCC, over 80%.
Wow.
So he was a killer.
He was a killer.
And more than that, I mean, this is the guy who basically started this whole leg lock revolution, which I hate, but
you're not a big fan of the leg locks?
I hate it. I'm old school, man. Like, I'm going back. Can we go back to passing and sweeping?
Dean was my roommate in Brazil. Back in the day. And so he wasn't from Gracie Baja, so I wasn't really supposed to be hanging out with him, let alone living at my house and stuff. And I used to go with him to train at Carlson's.
Oh, really? Okay.
Back in the day, like the old original Carlson. when he was just a blue belt, man. He was
giving
giving
people
people fits down there, especially Nogi, obviously.
I mean, he was a machine. I mean, probably one of the hardest guys to ever submit.
Yeah.
But
and
I mean,
then he fought in your tournament,
Yeah.
Pro-Ams.
He did. Oh, that's right. That was what?
Ed did like the first Abu Dhabi outside of Abu Dhabi that almost nobody knows about and nobody went to. Talk about selling no spectator seats.
Yeah. No, we had like this big, I would say big stadium, but it was probably a 5,000 seater.
Yeah.
And like
For a grappling
maybe
tournament.
150 people showed up.
Yeah.
We had a jiu-jitsu tournament that had about 150 competitors. And then we had the next day was the Pro-Am.
yeah.
Or the Pro Division. And it was like Leo Vera, Shaolin, Lloyd Irvin,
Matt Serra,
Mario
Mark
Shviha.
Lehman,
yeah,
Dean Lister,
All the OGs.
Euler fought,
Oh wow.
Anthony Hazlitt, Jeff Munson,
yeah.
Salo,
Roddy Ferguson.
Roddy Ferguson.
Oh, I feel bad for Roddy, man. I don't know how he didn't win the best throw. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. He's got this. He ragdolls this athlete who was 300 pounds.
Yes.
I'll show it to you.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't win best throw. So like I speak to Roddy frequently, so I got to do something to make that one right. But it was the craziest throw I've ever seen in grappling.
It was.
He just launched this guy like he weighed 10 pounds.
Have you seen his highlight video? Like it's just like
No.
it has a dun 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 that music dun
No, I
dun
haven't
dun
seen
dun,
it.
dun dun dun. You know, like you see, like it's awesome. That throw is on there, like a few times.
He was Olympic level from what I hear.
He was Olympic judo. I managed Roddy back in the day.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he's
a really
my-
cool guy.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he was a beast. I mean, beast athlete. In the Olympics, when he went to the Olympics, and not making excuses, but like he tore his quad, so he competed in the Olympics with a torn quad.
Yeah,
and you would have never known it until after, where you see like there's like but
it's pretty hard to do judo with the torn quad.
oh yeah, his quads are giant, and his style is so explosive.
Yeah.
But he lost, I believe, to the silver medalist by like I don't know the scoring in judo, but it's like a negative point or something weird.
So it was competitive. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was controversial.
Oh wow.
So if I remember, it was 2004, so it's a long time ago. But if I remember correctly, it was like he lost by like some type of negative point or something, and I should know judo better. But the guy won the silver medal, so complete beast.
He was a beast. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see this year as well. Like we have a lot of young new talent, a lot of first timers. So I'm very excited to see how they perform, because the weird thing with ADCC is, historically speaking, trials winners do not do well at the World Championship.
Huh.
I've tried to figure out why and stuff like that. There was a famous athlete, Hanato Canuto. He did 2019. Him and Gary had a crazy match. It was a match of the tournament. And I remember he came to me after, and he's like, it's so physical in ADCC. Like, it's very intense. And I think the problem is a lot of these trials winners, they'll dominate the trials. A lot of these guys had, like Mika Gava had all subs. Even Majid had all subs until the finals. So maybe they get like a false sense of confidence. And those are 6-minute matches. But Worlds, especially this one, everyone wants to win it so bad. And, these athletes are doing 3-month camps.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing 3 months for just one event. They won't do that for anything else. So
No.
you're going to see the best version of everybody. Our 77 kilogram division this year is absurd. I've never in my life seen a division that stacked. It's every single one of them is like a superstar. So the first round matches are going to be like super fights.
Wow.
So
Name some of them.
we got JT Torres, Cade Rotolo, Mika Galvao, Tommy Langacker's in there, Lucas Lepri, Davi Ramos, Lachlan Giles, Nicky Ryan, Oliver Taza, Andy Varela just got in. This guy's a savage. PJ Barch as well from 10th Planet. He's a monster, did very well. So every single one of them is a killer in there. So it's going to be William Tackett is in as well. So Roberto Jimenez. So it's just absurd.
Can't even remember them all.
It's
You
just
have a good memory.
absurd. Yeah.
no
I mean, this is my life. Like, I'm so focused on it. So I'm very excited. Once those brackets get released, I think people are going to lose it. So
What's the, like, if someone wins Abu Dhabi, what do they get now?
That's the thing. The prize money hasn't changed since the beginning, from what I remember. The first place is like 10 grand. So it's not really about the money, I would say. If you win ADCC though, like it just opens all the doors for you. Sure. Whether it's like, for example, Lachlan Giles, he had a crazy run in the absolute division. He submitted Kainan, Muhammad Ali, and Patrick Gaudio. Oh, wow. I heard he sold a ton of DVD sales right after that event, like more than 6 figures. Wow. So more than anything, if you win ADCC, it just opens a lot of doors with you for whether it's DVD sales, seminars, and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was like Scotty was going over some numbers of what some of these guys are making on DVDs now, and it's like a whole nother, like, back in the day. Yeah, I mean,
I know for a fact, like Gordon is selling 7 figures a year.
Yeah,
like 7 figures plus, probably multiples, to be honest. So
that's so amazing. That's awesome.
That's crazy for someone to be.
I had the best selling jiu-jitsu DVD at one point.
Which one?
I sold 30. I printed 37,000 copies of 101 submissions, and which at the time was like, but then DVD copiers came out, and like the next one sold. I printed like 5,000 copies. Of that one. But I lived a good life in Brazil on that DVD for a while.
That's a lot.
It was over like probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
And what was the real then? It was like 4 to 1.
Yeah, it was like 3 something to 1. He
was living the life. This guy
doing
is the cover of the Rio Times is the Gringo Conquistador.
Yeah. I know. I remember Scotty way back. He was before even he was before my time. Baby. So that's when we started. I remember seeing that OTM was everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So he was sponsoring. Yeah. I think Jeff Glover was sponsored by OTM.
Jeff Glover, yeah. Sponsored Gary for a long time, all of his Abu Dhabis.
Oh, wow. So, that's right. I remember.
I went with him and Lovato to China.
Okay.
That was a crazy event. Oh my God.
What happened?
That event was
Did you go to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been to every one since 2005, but Beijing, it's so funny because all the athletes, the ones who compete in Beijing, they remember that one because it was a great tournament. That's the beauty of ADCC. The matches are always going to be amazing. Yeah. But in reality, there was 50 people in the audience,
and 49 of them were smoking.
So like the athletes will message me like, Gabby, like, you cannot retire. You have to stay because they remember that one. But yeah, I saw that event. I'm like, I gotta go all out for this one. But I didn't start until I learned what I was doing.
Right.
And one thing I learned a long time ago, I think the biggest mistake organizers make, and I see it all the time, is they think they can do it all. There's no one who can sit there and be an expert in marketing, planning and stuff like that. So I've surrounded myself with a team. I have Seth Daniels from Fight to Win. He's a monster. A lot of people misinterpret him. I talk to him probably 2-3 hours a day, but for me, he's probably the hardest worker I've ever seen in the sport. So he's a monster, production wise, off the charts. I have Sean Fowler from 5 Grappling. He's my logistics guy. And then I have a new guy, Hanato, who does all the merchandise. So between the 4 of us, I feel like we're gonna deliver. But I've seen it all the time with these organizers. They try to do it all and it just crumbles.
Yeah.
And I've even reached out to organizers before and I'm like giving them advice and they're just like, yeah, shut up. And then I see them go bust like 6 months later. Yeah.
Yeah. They want to do everything themselves. The first ones that did a really good job, I think, was like Brian Simmons and Kip Kolar. Yep. Yeah. They had the Naga and Graz. Naga still around?
Yeah. I have no idea. Really?
They're crushing it.
Okay, good.
Are they for them?
They have a lot of people go to their tournaments.
And that's the swords.
Yeah, they get yeah. I mean, they're
a sword.
Like I want to win a sword. So I mean, they did something right, and that's the point. ADCC I'd say is the hardest rule set, but for someone that's training casually, there's no shame in doing nagas and stuff like that. It's hard to put a casual against someone who's training 4 or 5 hours a day. For sure. So.
I mean, Kleber had some of the biggest tournaments back when I was competing.
Copa Pacifica, yeah. I don't know what happened. I
can't remember how many of them I did. Like, I was definitely at the first one.
I remember he used to get over like 1,000 registrants. So
Maybe not towards the beginning, but yeah,
No,
I bet over time when they
over
got
time,
big,
yeah.
you know.
But that was a big one. So, but the other thing I see is a big mistake is the athletes as well. And I tell them like social media is like half the game for you now.
Sure.
They don't get it. I'm like, it's simple. If I'm an organizer, I'm going to look at an athlete. How many tickets is this person going to sell for me? It's that simple. And they don't think like that. They'll get deals from sponsors. And I'm like, listen, if a sponsor is going to pay you $2,000 a month, you by yourself need to be bringing them $6,000 to $8,000 a month in sales. If you're not, they're going to get rid of you. And they just don't understand that. They're like,
Right.
I think I'm worth this. And trying
It's
to
the
explain
Kardashian mentality.
Yeah.
I used to break it down to guys all the time that would ask me for sponsorship money. I'm like, let me break it down for you.
Yeah.
You know? So for me to pay you this, I got to sell whatever, 100 gis. How are you going to help me sell 100 gis? You know?
Yeah.
You know?
No,
we didn't have social media.
I'll be honest with you. I'm working on this big sponsorship deal. One of the first questions they asked me is, what's the social media of all the athletes combined?
Yeah.
So I had to do a breakdown, and they don't realize that. And even for themselves, like, I always tell them, like, listen, you posting yourself in the gym or what you even eat for breakfast, your fans want to see that. And the more you get that personal connection with them, the more, in tune they're going to be with you, and they're going to follow you, and they're going to go tell, if you treat a fan well, they're going to go tell 2-3 other people. And then it starts to cause this domino effect. And I see it all the time. And I'm just, they just don't understand that. Like, a sponsor's not going to come pay you a lot of money if you're not being proactive and you're not being entertaining. So they'll
The
learn
business
the hard way.
loop doesn't really make
Yeah.
sense, like especially back in the day a lot of guys that used to train and all they do is train pre-social media didn't have any social skills.
A lot of
One
them
of our
still-
friends, Danny Do Nothing, first guy to go from white belt to black belt. He, he used to throw parties in San Francisco and we invite like the jiu-jitsu guys and it would be like so awkward for them.
It's so true. I
being
laugh
there,
about it all the
It's like-
time.
It's like you got to have be able to do more than submit somebody if you're going to get these sponsors. I used to get sponsors because on the mat, like I got Dakine was one of the first sponsors. Like I was the first jiu-jitsu guy that did it.
Yeah.
I wasn't very good at jiu-jitsu, but I was like, hey, I got an email list. My website does X amount of traffic. I can send you this many clicks, and they started sending me stuff.
No, you're 100% right. Like I said, everyone has to look, inside for this evolution of the sport. Everybody, the organizers, the coaches, the athletes, and like I said, if you're not exciting, no one's going to book you. I get in shit all the time. Even now, even this last week, people get mad about my invites. So I made a massive post just a couple of days ago. And I said, listen, if you got second or third at the trials and you're boring as shit, I'm going to go with the guy who got fourth, who's actually going for submissions and entertaining. I go, ADCC is a tournament, but it's also a show.
Right.
I got approached. They approached me. Amazon Prime is coming, knock on my door. They want me to like do my events possibly on their platform. So,
Wow.
For grappling, that's crazy. So I'm going to
So
go
they like edit it all up. Clearly, they're not going to show hours and hours of event, right?
they want me to they want to be my streaming partner for all my future events.
Okay.
So like they wanted the whole shebang. And, no offense to silver medalists, but if you're going to put up a stinker, that's not good for anybody.
Nope.
I'm not making you boring. Like evolve, get more exciting, go for submissions, try to dominate your opponent. So it goes back to the entitlement thing. So I don't care. I'm like, I've dedicated 3 years to this event. This event is going to cost $1 million all in, for a grappling event. So if I hurt someone's feelings, I'm not losing any sleep over that.
Well, you got to be more sensitive, Mo. Why aren't you more sensitive for these guys filled with a bunch of testosterone? Like, they have hearts and they care about people.
Empath. Or whatever they call it.
What is it nowadays? A lot of them are younger, and it's no offense to the guys that are just mess around, but it is at least my experience when I got out of coaching was I saw people getting a little softer, and my style of coaching, hanging out is one thing, but coaching, it's like, I'm came under Lloyd Irvin. So it's like a very systematic, you do it, you don't do it, you did it or you didn't, no in between. And I did see, a lot of there was just like a softness in people. They weren't quite as tough.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it wasn't really fun to me anymore. I was kind of getting a lot of the politics stuff, just like, I can do other things.
Yeah.
But, I think you're seeing it now in society overall. Like, people are promoting this victim mentality. It's like, oh, it's cool to be a victim. I'm a victim. Like, was it the Victim Olympics?
No, like now,
the biggest victim.
It's like if you're offended of something and you post that, like, you should get a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Like, if you're offended by everything, first of all, what a miserable existence.
Right.
Like, if I was walking around in life and everything upset me, where I'd have to go tweet about it, like, what a horrible life. I don't understand that. And it just shows to me mental weakness. Okay, I get upset about things as well, but I agree. Just like now, everything is, I'm offended by this, I'm offended by that. Like, that just shows weakness to me.
Well, it's being pumped into society.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's happening. We're seeing it like on the news. I mean, you have this virtue signaling section of society, and it's all about who can. Let's make you marginalized. And like, if we were coaching people, that's like we wouldn't tell them, hey, you can't win because of this or that, or you're never going to be successful because of these things, the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Like, no, actually, you know what? You can do whatever you want. And you just got to work really hard and you got to believe it. And you got to go for it. Instead of that, they're feeding this, victim mentality. That's not responsibility.
No, I agree. I mean, the other thing is this, like, I understand with younger, but like college students, like, you're 20 years old and like you need, like, I just don't understand, how can you be that fragile? You're not ready for the real world. So I totally get it. I just have no patience for that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. It's just crazy to me, and you see it everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Not just in grappling. I mean, it is society. And maybe that's one of the things you're talking about. The sport you're saying needs to look in. Maybe that's one of the things, messaging wise, like, hey, we've got to, you're either being personally responsible for what happens to you, or you're being a victim, and I don't think most people even understand it, because they're being taught to be this one certain way. They're not like bad people, but they're being taught a way of being that is not successful.
Very early on. It's just a different culture now. Like, I had a crazy experience last Halloween. This is completely just to explain. So I'm at a friend's Halloween party and we're there in a big group. I'm there with my girlfriend as well, but I'm next to my brother and I'm just talking to my brother. My hands are in my pocket. Some guy comes to me and shoves me really hard. And I was like confused. So I was like, he just pushed me. So I look at the guy and he looks me in the face. He's like, don't touch my girlfriend's ass. First of all, I would never do that, number one. I didn't like, he was just absurd. Then I find out later, he's a TikTok guy from LA. So he wasn't expecting a response. So like, I looked around like, this guy just, just literally just shoved me and for no reason. And we're at a friend's house. So like, I'm not going to punch this guy, but like, I'm not going to let, like, my thing is you can't put your hands on me. So I go and I like double palm strike him as hard as I can right in the chest. And he goes flying like 8 feet up against the wall. So I go up right into his face. I'm like, you're lucky. I go, otherwise I'm going to break your face. So he just looked at me like in shock that I actually did something, like he never experienced it. Then I find out later, he did the same thing to someone at the party an hour before. And the guy didn't respond. What I think now, because he had a couple of his buddies there. So I don't know if they were like recording me. Like, they do these skits or something like that. But this is the best part. So they're like, do you want me to kick the guy? I'm like, I don't care, whatever. He comes walking back towards me and I'm thinking he's going to come apologize to me. So he comes up to me. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, oh, my name is Mo. He's like, what's your last name? I'm like, why do you want to know? So he looks me in the face and he's just like, don't worry, I'll find out. So I put my arm around his head smiling. I'm like, you didn't learn your lesson last time? I go, you got off easy. I go, if you want to keep going, we can go outside and I'll finish this very quickly. And then he finally got it. But like the look in his face when I like palm striked him in the chest was like, oh my, he was like in shock that I actually did something. And, no disrespect to LA people, but he probably does it and gets away with it. So it's just a different time now.
It's a different time.
People get away with, even people run their mouths all the time. And it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
You saw it with like the Mike Tyson thing. Like
Yeah.
that's Mike Tyson. Like this is not somebody you want to antagonize for 20 minutes and, wouldn't stop. And he still doesn't understand why he got like, I'm not condoning violence, but people have limits.
Oh, I thought that was completely rational what he did.
Somebody had to put a stop to it.
Can you imagine? Like that's actually, as a man, it's not condoning violence. It's just as a man, you've got to stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
And right now you have people acting less manly.
Yeah.
And cowling to situations like that. And it's completely normal. He's justified. If someone puts their hands on you or picking
100%.
on you or bullying you, you have the right to defend yourself.
I read like the guy threw a water bottle or something at him. And like you're throwing a water bottle at a guy who's known, you deserve it. And I guarantee you that guy won't do it ever again. So he learned a lesson. Okay, got banged up a little bit. But again, it's just this new generation where people can say what they want and run their mouths. I don't condone violence, but if someone puts their hands on me,
of course,
I'm gonna retaliate 100%.
Well, there's consequences to actions, and I think all of us in this room are good, kind people. We want the best for people. We'll help people. All of those things as good human beings that we should do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like none of us will be bullied. And that's or disrespected. It's one thing, but like it's really the bullying, and then when it gets physical, you're taking it to another level, and they're not used to that.
100%. Like someone runs their mouth at me, I'll run my mouth back.
Sure.
To transition from verbal to physical, it takes something. But I agree with you 100%. But it's just the new generation. They just this entitlement. They think they can just do what they want, and I don't think it's healthy, to be honest.
No, and the algorithm is kind of running, everything that we're seeing right now. And so, people get their likes and their this and their shares or, whatever. And they think that's what life is about.
I agree with you. My girlfriend, she's got a big TikTok following, like 8 million followers. I don't go on TikTok, but she's always on it.
She knows dances and stuff?
Yeah, I don't get it, but whatever. Sponsors pay a lot of money. Hey. Whatever, go collect that bag. But I look at it, and it's just like all it is people complaining to get sympathy and likes. It's like, why are you throwing out? Like, for example, I've seen clips where they would post their parents, like disrespecting their parents, and like try to like destroy their parents. And I'm like, what kind of loser are you that you try to like throw your parents under the bus who aren't doing anything to get likes and, compliments from strangers that don't matter to you, and that's the new society. Like that's the thing I hate about social media. And that's the dark side of it. So it's just crazy. It's like we were talking about everyone being offended. So everything offends everybody and they just throw it out there. And then like-minded people all like create this bubble and they support that. It's just like, I never understood that.
Well, I think it like starts. I was talking to Scott and Dedrick. I don't think you've met Dedrick. He's our other business partner. But about last week, I'm like, we've got to start, just talking to people about standing up for, what's right. It doesn't mean that all of our ideas are right, but when someone's being bullied, or let's say we're being bullied, or those type of things, society has one idea about how we're supposed to react, just what we're being taught in the schools and on all these different things on how we're supposed to be.
But the thing that worries me the most personally is like, when we grew up, you always had a debate, and now they don't even want to have the debate. And like everyone's on edge, right? You're like, if I say the wrong thing, like think about it, like, and now you have to think 3 times. Is this going to come? Like you don't know what offends people anymore. So everyone's walking on eggshells. So
you gotta be able to predict the future too. Cause you gotta say, could this be offensive in 10 years?
Exactly. Like,
right. And they're canceling people for being.
It's like now people are going back 30 years ago. Like you did this 30. You can't judge people back then on the current times. Like, I'm sorry. No one's going to pass that test if you really want to like, blame society at the time. So I just don't get it. In all honesty, it's just, I'm seeing, big players come to space. So we'll see. I think I'm the only person to ever organize ADCC twice. They normally change the location every 2 years. The only time I can think of, obviously, other than Abu Dhabi, was in 2005 and 2007. Both were in America. So we'll see. I keep saying I'm just going to have very big shoes to fill after I'm gone. So, if I feel there isn't someone that can, carry the same vision, the same goals as me, I might even try to do it again. Okay. And it's tiring. I probably aged in 8 years in the last 2 years.
Well, good thing you're here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you guys keep me young. I'll need it, but it's stressful. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. People look, oh, Mo's name's out there, but yeah, I have to deliver. If I suck, everyone's gonna be like,
your name's
Mo
out there.
The biggest charlatan the sport's ever seen. So
I've always seen some charlatans.
It's a lot of pressure, but if I feel like after 2022, which I probably could go something crazier. Who knows? Maybe Dallas Cowboys Stadium, maybe T-Mobile. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't expect to sell like that. So, and the reality is this: me and Seth are laughing because we're like, 2019 was a big success. Well, all we had really was 4 Taiko drummers and 3 LED screens. This one has become absurd. Like I got Bruce Buffer coming for this one.
Oh wow!
I got the Pride Lady coming, so both of them are going to be
Pride Lady. He's so crazy, that lady.
Yeah. Oh, so it's Lenny Hart. Her name's Lenny Hart. So I have the 2 biggest announcers in the sport working together. I'm working on Chael Sonnen to host it as well. So I'm not supposed to say this stuff, but our LED screen, our LED wall for this event is bigger than WWE's. It's going to be 60 feet wide and 30, 40 feet tall. So we have pyro, we have live performance. It's just, I'm going to throw everything I got at this event.
Thomas and Mack has the big overhead screen and stuff. So all the matches are going to be up on that and stuff.
So the only problem was in the last one, 2019, we only did half the stadium. So it was a lot easier where we just put the LED walls in the back, but there was you can't do that if people are sitting all around. Right. So what I decided to do, there is a Jumbotron on Sunday, which we've never done before. We're going to only do 2 mats. So the event will be longer, but I've never seen someone at ADCC like, hey, we need to get the hell out of here. Yeah. So, I'll never forget in 2019, we had 3 matches all at the same time. It was Gordon versus Lucas Barbosa, Cyborg versus Nicky Rod, and Buchecha versus Kainan all at the same time. And everyone's just like, which one do I watch? So I was like, you know what? Let's go down to 2 mats. Let's not rush. You can watch 1 match. It's a lot easier to watch 2 matches than 3. So, it'll take 8-9 hours that day, but so what?
Yeah.
Plus, that weekend, by the way, it's like absurd because the same weekend in Las Vegas, you have one of the biggest boxing matches. You have Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G, the trilogy. Oh. So that's going on. Raiders home game starts, or for the season starts. So they're playing the Cardinals. The UFC has a fight night that week as well. And then there's a massive music festival. So it's like 5 massive events all in Vegas that weekend.
Wow.
So
get your hotel rooms.
Yeah. I told these people, now they're crying. I told them in the beginning, book your hotel rooms. Yeah. And the hotel rooms are refundable within 72 hours. Now the prices have gone up.
Yeah. Vegas is expensive right now.
So drastically. Yeah. So
cheap days of Vegas are gone. COVID crushed that one.
Yeah. It's weird. One thing I noticed when we did events, when I was looking for a venue for West Coast Trials, they're charging a fortune. Yeah. You'd think the exact opposite. It's like, hey, we lost money during COVID. Let's bring the prices down and just do turnover. They are not doing that.
They got to make it
up. I paid like crazy amount of money for West Coast Trials in a hotel. So
I remember that hotel. I tried to do the very first ever jiu-jitsu tournament in Vegas in that hotel. It was too expensive for me so we ended up in a high school gym for $900.
Yeah, I mean it works. I mean, not
$1,000 prize. Mark Lehman won the Open.
I remember Mark. Crazy Mark. I was at the match when Mark fought. Was it Huron or Henner? I always forget. They fought him at Grapple Quest.
Yeah,
it was in Vegas. Too, yeah. Elio Gracie was there too, and they were arguing about the rules.
I have that whole argument on video.
It was like the weirdest thing ever. Like it was like after a certain time they would flip from guard, like one would flip a coin, and I just remember Mark Lemon's like, I don't care, I just want to do the match. Let's go.
Yeah,
and he won.
I think it was Huron.
Was it Huron?
Yeah,
I forget which one it was. Either
older one,
Huron or Henner. I forget. So. Mark was known for his all his tapes. He had the biggest library ever.
We were tape trading back then a lot
on VHS, right? Yeah.
I got in trouble in Brazil because of Mark's tape, the Mark Lehman remix. So he would take, this is pre-DVDs, and so that we could study, he would take a move on it. You have multiple VHSs, and so you play it. So you play the move once at full speed, and then like 3 times at regular speed, and then once at full speed. And they have just started like originally as study guides, and then we just slapped them together and started selling them as VHSs.
Oh my God.
And that pissed off the powers that be in Brazil quite a bit. So,
and back then they had a lot of power. I mean, that's the problem with ADCC is so I have 2 bosses. Obviously the owner of ADCC is well known, Sheikh Donhoon, but under him is a guy named Guy Nevins. That's the one I report to. Till today, they're still like terrified about fixed matches, because in the original ADCCs there was a lot. These guys even said it. I think Matt Hughes did a fixed fight with Jeremy Horn or something to get the fastest prize money. So 20 something years later, like I have to go to my bosses, like I put my neck on the line. I know these 2 will fight. Even recently, like for example, we invited PJ and Andy Varela, and my boss asked, he's like, are they going to do a fixed fight? Well, I was like, well, first of all, they killed each other at the trials, so they'll fight 100%. So like a lot of times I'll say, I put my neck on the line, so that alleviates a lot. So
tell Guy hi.
I will for sure. Forever, but he's going to be there, so
I'll see him.
You'll see him in September. Yeah. He's still going. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. I just try to make his life a lot easier. So he thinks I'm crazy. He's always just like, Mo's just obsessed with this stuff.
So, I mean, I think you're crazy for trying to do a jiu-jitsu tournament. I wouldn't dare touch it with a 10-foot pole.
So one of us has got to do it. Come on. We'll do it together. So, no, it's exciting. I love this sport. I train boxing, wrestling, but there's just something about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the most physically gifted, and you could still be very, I call it like human chess, basically. So
totally. Yeah.
I love it. So. Until I get burnt out, I'll keep going.
Well, keep going. And now that you're coming to us, you can, if you get injured, you can just come here and
I got injured in April at the West Coast Trials. I mean, I'm an idiot, but I still won this battle. I saw Cade Rotolo, and I was like, let's go over under, because I have a pretty strong body, like a good squeeze. So I'm like, let's go. And I was pretty big then. So we get into over unders and we go full power for 5 minutes straight, until I felt him slowly starting to fade. So I won the battle. And then a couple days later, I was like, my shoulder feels really weird. So I think I probably had like wear and tear already, but from that and the twisting motion, I think I injured my shoulder off that. No complaints. It was worth it. I still dominated him. So I'll carry that for the rest of my life.
As long as you dominated.
Yeah.
It's those little moments in jiu-jitsu. Like I passed BJ Penn's guard once. Yeah. I wanted on my fucking tombstone.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's that unspoken rule. Hey, I agree. This is by the way, I have a rule. I tell the athletes, if I score on you or I submit you, the whole world's going to know. And I do it. I'm not kidding. God. So like, sorry, Ty Rotolo and Ethan. The greatest day of my jiu-jitsu was we were training in my house. This was like 4 years ago. I go against Ty and I pass his guard, take his back, and get him in a rear naked. So I'm like, hell yeah. Then I go against Ethan and I submit him with the reverse body triangle. I don't know what I was like inverted, and I was going to break his spine.
Oh,
so he still tapped, and I immediately went to my Instagram. I just tapped Ethan and Ty back-to-back rounds. But now the last time I went with Ty was like a couple months ago, and what he did to me was criminal. He submitted me 30 times, darsed me 30 times, like just obliterated me. But I still submitted him. So I don't care how. I was like, let your stock keep going up. It just makes me look better. So I that's my thing. I love to score on the athletes, and I talk so much trash to all of them. Like that's my thing. So.
Yeah. So is there anybody that you still want to tap that you haven't tapped yet?
I've never scored on Cade. Okay. It's just driving me nuts. I've scored on pretty much everyone else. Like I've Homolo, I have this sweep. I call it the money sweep. I got him on that. JT as well. Cade, I got close last time. I got him on this like omoplata sweep, but he's impossible to hold down. Like, so one day I'll get him, especially after this injury.
Once
I'm going to come
fix
with like
that shoulder.
My shoulder's going to come back stronger than ever, and I'm just going to break his spine with just a squeeze.
I got one of mine like downstairs, Todd Margolis. Before we were on the same team, like I was doing ankle locks back in the day. Nobody else was doing them. And I went, we were competing in a tournament and I had a foot lock on Todd. And it was pretty deep, but he had these giant ankles. Like, oh, I can't turn this thing. And then he grabs my foot and he rips my foot off, breaks my ankle in the tournament. I'm like,
It's like, let me show you how it's done.
Right.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, we ended up being on the same team, Team Lloyd Irvin. And he was the one guy in practice I could not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have scored on him, but like I couldn't catch him to save my life. And I tried so hard in competition shape.
I feel your pain. I have a hard time with the lighter guys. For me, the smaller guys, like their guards are like so hard to pass. Like you get past and they frame. Bigger guys, to be honest, I do better with. But it's always these 66 kilo guys. Like it's just I have a hard time.
You don't smash them.
I try. I trust me. I mean, if I can get to my positions, I can put a threat. But they're so good now, and it's not like the new guards are so advanced that their retention. So I'll keep trying to kill them.
Well, maybe one day you got them all.
I just got to get them once. That's it. That's all that matters.
One, yeah.
That's
One and
one
done.
time. Yeah. So
As long as it makes it to the gram.
yeah.
It's all about the gram now,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's Scotty's the main influencer here.
Oh yeah. So much influence.
Got so much.
100%. So no, I'm excited. I'm going crazy because I haven't trained in 3 months. So I'm very excited to be here. You know, I had a bunch of friends who've come here and they just give it to me straight and they were just shocked. So I'm like, that's it. I'm coming.
Yeah, that's
awesome. I don't ever want to do surgery. That'd be like my last resort. So, I'm excited to get this done and get back into shape and start training again.
Did you get an MRI on it?
Yeah.
What did it show?
A lot. I was talking to the doctor today. He's like, this is what he told me. He's like, normally people have 1 or 2 issues with the structure. He's like, you have 5.
Okay.
I'm like, awesome. He's like, this is one of the most complex cases I've seen. All right. So I'm like,
wow.
Oh, great. So thank you, Cade Rotolo. You will be staying at Circus when I'm done with you. So, and your food will be laced with Pepto-Bismol. So, it is what it is. I think the problem too is like, I'm on TRT, which I think was one of the best things I've ever done. And, my muscles get strong, but, I'm going to be 42 years old, the tendons. So I'm going to probably tone it down a little bit. I won't be such a meathead and trying to kill everybody. So after I get healed up, I'll start training a little bit more normal.
There we go. Well, we'll do the best we can to help you with that.
No,
So.
I appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to it. So
Right on. Well, Mo, anything in closing you want to say?
no, thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited to get this done. I'm sure I'll be back, heal up my body. And when I start smashing all these big superstars, I'll be giving you guys credit.
All right. Tag me.
Yeah.
I'm like CPI. Thank you.
There we go.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Of course.